Actually, it's October 1st, 2023. And I'm going to be drinking this Bud Light Gelato. I guess I want to kind of start this off with a sort of video response, and I guess give it a little bit more, give like a more updated you know, an updated my thoughts on what's good on Starfield so far. I guess the reason why I want to make this, there's I guess a little discussion in my Adventurers Guild where people seem like they don't like the game anymore, which I cannot understand.
When you are, Captain.
There was a couple of them, or at least one of them, that seemed like he initially hated it and then actually started to like it and then now doesn't like it again. And you know, that is okay. I mean, maybe.
Hey, good to see you.
Maybe after playing it for a while, he discovered things he didn't like, and I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry for the people in the guild that dislike the game. And okay, I think this is a good kind of shot to stay at for a while I give my thoughts. It seems like there was one person, my good friend Scamp, Grumpy Scamp, which I've shouted him out a bunch of times, and I'm shouting him out again. We like similar RPG games, and he still seems like he enjoys it, and he admits that, of course, there's flaws in the game still, and yeah, I agree. Of course there are, but there's also this update, and I could kind of notice the graphics look a little bit more crisper and cleaner, particularly in the foliage, the trees and the plants, like around New Atlantis and just other areas with vegetation. And kind of weird, but like why were my eyes closed like that? But anyways, Scamp also mentioned that it's only going to get better with mods, and I agree with that, and I have no problems with mods. There was a time, when I played Oblivion and Skyrim, I was completely against mods. I talked about that on my old channel, and even brought it up when I talked about how I was playing with mods. When I was Let's Playing Skyrim here, and I think for me, I'm okay with mods so long as it just adds to the immersion of the game, or maybe kind of updates it a bit and adds quality of life issues, not issues, quality of life improvements to the game. That doesn't really break immersion, and it just maybe only adds to it. And I have like maybe 150 to like 170 mods, but all of those mods do not require script extender or what was that thing called, Sky UI. It doesn't require those. So they're just mostly like expansions or mod expansions or mod DLC that adds to the story of the game, things like that. Oh, it's just the lighting. Now I look fine. That's really weird. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the mods, and if over time, when this game gets mods, especially on the barren planets, that are pretty empty, and the modders put stuff on them, you can imagine even just 2 short years from now, in addition to whatever, you know, updates and maybe possibly little DLC that Bethesda would come up with, it's going to be a lot more richer and a lot more fuller, you know, the world of Starfield. The other thing, you know, that seemed to be a thing, a topic that people were discussing in there was there really wasn't any RPG mechanics in this game. And oh, sorry, it's, you know, my stomach. I've been having issues. But I feel as if, you know, you have this, and oh, this is nice. I don't even have to click. I can just. Was I able to do this all the time? I don't know. But I like that. I can just move the mouse. So this is, you know, something, you know, familiar. You can pick what category you want to focus on, category or categories, and put points or even multiple points into the skill. The added thing here is that when you pick something, you have to perform these like tasks to get the right to unlock the next rank. So I thought that was a nice little touch that they added. You know, something like the format of this, I guess, is something like Skyrim, right? But just it's different. It's you go up, you know, into space, and you pick whatever constellation, which is really the category, like much like this, and it goes into the, you know, each skill. But I think that one had more of a, it was like a clear branching, you know, path for each one, like with fire, and then you can have like improved fire or something like that, and focus more on the fire tree. This one seems more like you can pick this and then this here. It doesn't have to be the one directly underneath it. So I was okay with how they had it in Skyrim. So of course I'm going to be okay with it here. And Sarah, oh, here, status. So this is great too. I don't know if the definition of the RPG mechanics are. I feel as if it has some. It's just maybe not as in depth as you know, the older Elder Scrolls game, and there was even a comparison between this and the fantastic Baldur's Gate 3, which I also let's play. It doesn't. It seems like it's losing interest. You know, at least my let's plays of Baldur's Gate, people don't seem to be watching that one as much. Not that my let's plays get a lot of views anyways. But of course, something like Baldur's Gate 3, it's going to have more RPG elements because it's based off a Dungeons and Dragons game, which is a tabletop RPG. You know, with the dice rolls, and now you actually have the visual, you know, D20 dice roll, and along with the off-camera dice roll. That of course has a lot of, you know, RPG mechanics, and that is fine. But for me, the definition of, you know, role-playing doesn't just end with the mechanics. It's the overall experience of the game. It's all of this in addition to just this whole world, and being able to interact with the people and speak with them and getting to know them and walking around this world and, you know, looking at all the sights and sounds. And to me, the graphics, these are some of the best graphics like I've seen, you know, in a game.
Ahoy, Captain!
Yeah, and just things like that, how they, you know, the NPCs acknowledge you, and you know, they have sandboxing, and of course it can be glitchy. You know, as I said, I've come across some where it's
Hello
maybe
there.
the detection. Look at that. See, it's coming from the left side, and before it was from the right. So it's very like the surround sound kind of thing. But for example, the NPC detection maybe is not maybe, but I don't know if they fixed it or they just don't care. But when that guy, Sam Coe, was kind of still far away, the guard stopped me and talked to me, and we were like point blank. But then noticed Sam Coe and began talking to him when he was still like a few yards away almost, but talking to him as if he was as close as I was to him. But so that's kind of funny, and it's immersion breaking, I suppose. But after you get past that, it's not too big a deal,
Lives get stuffy sometimes.
So it doesn't bother me as much. And Bethesda games are known for the glitchiness and stuff. And I've brought this up before. I kind of compare this one to Morrowind, and that might seem like an odd thing, like why Morrowind? It's an old game for one. It's totally different setting from this game. But when I compare to Morrowind, I'm not necessarily comparing the RPG mechanics, but maybe how it was received. Like some people, it wasn't everyone's cup of tea because it was too complex, or it was too much of a classical, tabletop RPG. You walked so slow, very slow burn. It maybe took a while for the story to move along. And I don't think people had too much of a big deal with the graphics for back then. But of course, you look at it now, unmodded or even just slightly upscaled, with the mods that I have one of them where it upscales the graphics of Morrowind a bit, but the graphics weren't too big a deal, and for its day it was considered really good, but it wasn't. I think my IGN magazine gave it a 7. You see, a 7 out of 10, and although I think GameSpot gave it, Greg Kasavin gave it an 8.7, so not like a 9 or a 9.5 or anything. So that's what I'm talking about with this. Initially, I was worried, and I'm not embarrassed to admit any of that. I was worried about this game receiving double 7s back to back, and then of course I see these other reviewers,
I hope you're having
praising
a good
it
day.
now. Oh, thank you, Cora. Thank you. I don't have any books for you yet, but I'll keep looking. And let me just go over here where it's going to be quieter. And what was I saying? Cora made me lose my train of thought there. But yeah. Even though I saw that it started getting great reviews, I still go by what I think of it, from my time with the game, playing it, and I'm loving it more and more, each time. Like I'm not focusing on the flaws as much, because I'm sure, over time it's going to get fixed, and just like with Skyrim and Oblivion with the unofficial patch, the community will fix things. And I think they're mad. People are mad because they spent $70 on a game and it seems, unfinished. But I don't understand that. I mean, it's look at that. It's pretty finished. It's not like you go on a planet and then there's massive clipping or the textures aren't loaded in. This is, and I know you can't fly around, You know, I guess like that other game they're comparing it to, No Man's Sky, which I've never played, but I guess they expected that, being able to actually control your ship and take off into space. I never expected that, you know. But again, I haven't been really following this game intently, like maybe most people have been. It's one of those games where it was announced, and I was like, oh, interesting, and I didn't really delve further into it, and then didn't really think about it. And then when I discovered, you know, a month or two that this was coming out, then I started to take notice of it. I watched that 45-minute, you know, making of or whatever that was, you know, talking about this game. And I liked what I seen. And I think another complaint was that, you know, a fellow guildie had, was that there were promises and it didn't live up to them. But they're not, to me, there weren't promises like, well, actually, from what I recall from that 45-minute documentary, I didn't see anything where it seemed like a lie. You know, I'm thinking about it. You know how they said how you can pick one of those skills that you can just choose to be a melee fighter and punch people off the balcony, and you have a jetpack. You know, and it's all there. It's everything that I've seen. You know, you have it, and the other thing was. What was I going to say? I'm losing my train of thought, guys. I'm really sorry. You know, it's late, and I kind of didn't expect to play, but I felt like I wanted to address this and, you know, make this you know, response video to them. I feel like I can explain myself better than typing it and trying to you know, explain it that way. Oh, I was going to bring up like Peter Molyneux from Lionhead Studios, where he would be talking, you know, a lot of you know, great stuff about his game, you know, with Fable and Fable 2 and Fable 3, all these great features it's going to have. And then when the game came out, it was an absolute letdown. It didn't have those things that he promised, or it just wasn't as good as he was hyping it up to be. This is more or less, you know, your typical Bethesda title. It wasn't overhyped to me, at least, but again, as I said, I wasn't you know, completely focused on it. And just by playing it, you know, already, you know, 25 hours, you know, I brought this up in my Baldur's Gate 3 video in one of the episodes, where there comes a point, and I think I said this when I was in the cave before I, you know, stopped playing. You know, I saved the Let's Play and ended the video. But there comes a point in the game after you play it a certain amount of hours, even like 10 hours, you know, you get the idea of what the game is like, and you can already make a pretty, you know, logical assessment of the game. And it's just like, you know, when I'm playing Skyrim or Morrowind or something,
like
you know, I
this.
get that same
I think I'll stick to the
level of
comforts New
immersion.
Atlantis.
You know, it's just now the graphics are like this. I mean, just look at this.
Captain,
It looks like it's
my assistance.
coming out really good. It is. I'm looking at there. So I mean, the graphics never looked this great, even in Fallout, you know. So I personally have no problems with that, and I just feel that you know, if you just kind of play it immersively, I guess. But those guys that, you know, weren't liking it, at least I know with one of them, he plays it immersively, but I guess I don't know. I don't know what to say. You know, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and this is certainly mine. I will say that, you know, something like Daggerfall, you know, the older RPGs, of course it left a lot to the imagination. The graphics may not look that great. Even with Daggerfall, the sky looked wonderful. And when you look at that, it's a great big open world. But then when you really look at the buildings and the static NPCs, that have no dimension to them, no matter what angle you look at them, they turn with you. And I'm talking about Daggerfall, not Unity, but original Daggerfall, right? All pixelated. That's where your imagination kicks in. And this, you just have to still continue to use that imagination to fill in all those little gaps of the shortcomings of the game. It's just now there are less gaps. Whereas Daggerfall and Morrowind, when they're pixelated, and the AI isn't really there. There really wasn't a radiant AI during those times of Morrowind or Daggerfall. You used your imagination to give it that AI. Well, now we have more or less a type of radiant AI, as flawed as it may be at times. It still works, and so long as you're not purposely trying to push it to just try to cause it to glitch out, you just play it naturally, and the way you would play your character. I'm not saying play it like it's on rails, but play it the way you would play it, how you would role play it, and not play it to cause some sort of reaction or glitch, and just to put it's glitched and laugh at it. You're gonna find something to love about it still, and as I said, just use your imagination to fill in all the other gaps, that are there, that break the immersion or break the illusion of it being a real world. And that's all I have to say. So, sorry this is a little bit long, but I will edit this part out. I'm going to not edit it out, but okay, let me load it. I will edit, make a separate video out of this whole beginning part, but then keep it for the Let's Play, Okay, so I think, oh shit, that's not right. Wow, so the food is considered stealing, but I could take the frying pan and stuff, so I just won't take it. I won't take anything. See, to me, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you might see this as a glitch. Okay, so why is this considered stealing, but then you can take the pots and pans and stuff, without it being flagged or, stolen? Well, then all I do is, instead of just complaining about that, I just see that everything has a steal, label on it, even though it says take. So all of this is considered stealing. So I just won't take it unless I intend to steal, which I do not. So that's what I mean. I'm also kind of reminded of, even though it's not exactly the same thing, but it's somewhat similar.
Traveling into these canyons is wise. The route looks treacherous.
It's like an early season, probably within
months. I'd have looked into every nook and cranny.
Probably within the first 2 or 3 seasons of Star Trek Next Generation. Picard said, there's this man who's deaf and he can't speak, but he has these 3 emissaries with him that do the speaking and, I believe, hearing for him, something like that. And the way he's able to make peace between, he's a diplomat, right, between different, governments and even planets, is by turning an advantage or a disadvantage into an advantage, something like that. And one day his emissaries, which were his ears and voice, perished. And he was getting all, frustrated and everything, and just he was not being reasonable about anything and panicking. And Picard calmed him down by saying, so why don't you turn your disadvantage into an advantage? Basically teach them sign, or their version of sign language, as a way of bridging the gap, so it gives them some sort of common ground, not just with him, teaching them how to communicate with him, but also teaching the other side how to do it too, and now they have that in common. So I love that. I try to implement that as much as I can. But sorry for the long intro, and I guess mixing that video response in with this Let's Play. Again, I respect everyone's opinion, and it's great to have that kind of a dialogue. And even though I can see both sides of things and why people can be upset, would be upset, I choose to focus more on the positive things, the things I like about it. And I don't want there to be any kind of hate or any kind of argument or war or anything with anyone. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed, and see you.